This is Bitcoin zoomed in on the hourly chart in a very just sideways kind of consolidation right now. It's a very boring move in terms of Bitcoin. Throughout the history of Bitcoin, the move that we see here, extremely boring. But this range, this green rectangle that you see it trading within, makes it the most compelling, important move that Bitcoin has ever made. Truly. Throughout all of the cycles of crypto, because this cycle, we are trying to distinguish whether or not Bitcoin is about to do something extraordinary, something it's never done before. So literally on this hourly chart that is so boring and sideways, what you see happening here means everything. And what happens in the next 5 days on this weekly chart zoomed out is incredibly important for Bitcoin. I want to break it all down in this video. ADA on the zoomed out, I want to put some things into perspective in terms of where ADA is on these charts. What might be ahead in this next bull run as it pertains to Bitcoin and this next bull cycle, as well as the rest of crypto. So hit the subscribe, hit the like, and let's jump into the video. So obviously I started on the zoomed in hourly because I was just thinking like, this is insane. This is a very small range, 4% range, not even 4%, hourly chart, kind of sideways, wondering what's going to happen. And this is what it looks like on the zoomed out weekly. So what I want to talk about on the zoomed out weekly is number one, let me just point out why the next 5 days are so important. What happens with this weekly candle? It's everything. And as many of you know, it has everything to do with the bull market doors. That is the Fibonacci retracement from a bull market high to bear market low. I've talked about this area nonstop. Bitcoin is above the 618 area. Now, if Bitcoin closes this weekly candle in this green area, this will be the move that Bitcoin makes every cycle past to kickstart the parabolic move. Post Bitcoin halving, not before Bitcoin halving. So here's a weekly candle last cycle. That's what it looked like. Notice the rejection, a weekly wick going into it. That wasn't it. But that weekly candle right there closing. And I want to dissect the momentum of these moves too. And this is really what I want to show you. But you can see going back 2 cycles ago, here's the weekly candle closing. Huge retracement, huge retest of the 618, but still there's the weekly candle closing in the range post halving. And then you go all the way back here to even 2013, there's the weekly candle closing within the Fibonacci area. So zoomed out, you can see how the next 5 days and how this weekly candle closes within this Fibonacci bull market door area is pretty important. At least for somebody that does technical analysis, this is incredibly important to me to see what happens. I want to say this. I want Bitcoin so bad to close even more powerfully than where it is right now. I want it just to keep going right now in the next 5 days and close powerfully within the middle of this bull market door area. But just looking at this, I could visualize very easily, I'm going to show you on a momentum oscillator how this could be a concern. I could visualize how Bitcoin just starts trending down in the next few days and Bitcoin closes below the 618 area and we don't get a weekly close within or above the 618 bull market door entry area. And we have kind of this very big wick of resistance. Could you imagine? And then there's what is in play is the consolidation going into halving, and we haven't broken into those doors yet. What I want to show you is on the momentum oscillators. This is a real big reason why I did this video. I circled on the RSI, the slower moving momentum oscillator. I circled every time Bitcoin has closed that first weekly candle that we just looked at, right, on these charts. So for instance, the last cycle, you can see Bitcoin closing that first weekly candle within that huge bull market door area. I circled on the RSI where it was. Let me make a point. Look at when Bitcoin is just getting started, right? We're talking about there are so many gains in store for Bitcoin and altcoins. At this moment, Bitcoin's overbought when that's happening. So just make note of that. But this is generally where it was last cycle, right there. And then we go to the cycle before that when it was breaking those bull market doors. It was right here to the upside, right around 80 or so on the RSI to the upside when it's breaking the doors, overbought. Look at all the way back here in 2013, extremely overbought, around 90 on the RSI. And just to give you an idea, if I go all the way back there and we look at those doors being broken, check it out. Bitcoin's absolutely going crazy, parabolic all the way back then. So now the point of me doing that is to say, okay, where are we this cycle around, right? If we look at Bitcoin's breaking those bull market doors right now, and if we get that first weekly close within that Fibonacci retracement area, the 618 up to the 786, well, right now Bitcoin is in a very similar area, right? So that's not any concern. Bitcoin is a little bit overbought, but that's where it's been in these past cycles as it's entering the doors. Here's where there might be a little bit of a concern. Check out on this weekly chart what's happening though with this current RSI move. It's not the first RSI move into overbought. That would make sense compared to previous cycles. It's that first move into overbought, right? Going back, it's that first move into overbought. It's not that. Right now, we've had an overbought move, came back down, and then right now, Bitcoin's actually putting in, and this is where the concern might be, and I use the word caution a lot. I'm not just some perma bull that just is going to keep giving bullish outlooks. I'm also not bearish. I'm extremely bullish even if Bitcoin retraces. But I like to be realistic in what the data is showing us. There is bearish divergence on the weekly. It's not the most popular topic of conversation, but that just is what it is from a technical analysis perspective. If we're looking at the data and putting aside hopium and emotion, that just is what it is. So we have a little bit of a bearish divergence, momentum fizzling on Bitcoin. We need a power move for Bitcoin in the next 5 days. Because if this is the case, if Bitcoin on the momentum oscillator stalls out here and starts falling, this could be the case for this weekly candle to close below the 618 area, just around 48,000, and start making the move to, at the very least, test the 20-week moving average. It's down around 39,000 right now. Sounds crazy. And that could mean Bitcoin sideways and the 20-week moving average pulls into Bitcoin. It could mean a really harsh dip into the 20-week moving average. But remember, when we're getting this separation above these moving averages, we're always anticipating these moves back to the downside. And as we've mentioned time and time again, pre-halving, that move would be very common in terms of what Bitcoin has done in cycles past before the halving. And then after the halving, that's when the doors get broken. I'm not saying that to say that's what's going to happen, but I did want to point that concern out in terms of where Bitcoin is from a momentum oscillator perspective. There's a little bit of a bearish divergence happening on the Bitcoin charts. But needless to say, if Bitcoin pumps up that energy, there's 5 days left on this weekly RSI, 5 days left on the weekly candle. Bitcoin pumps in that energy to the upside. We're cruising on up towards 50 and above. This, you'll see a pop to the upside here. Get rid of that bearish divergence. And right now, if that weekly candle closes within this Fibonacci retracement, would actually be just a monumental move for Bitcoin. It would be a first, something it's never done. And pretty incredible to think about the fact that on the hourly chart, the bulls and the bears are fighting here. This is where this is taking place. Bitcoin needs to stay above the lower trend line here of this Fibonacci bull market door area. So that's Bitcoin. I wanted to point that out. That's what I'm watching for the next 5 days. Obviously, maybe in the next couple of days, we'll do shorter term technical analysis to see what's going on with Bitcoin. But that's Bitcoin and the really meaningful story of those bull market doors. Everybody, before we hop over to ADA and look at those crazy ADA weekly charts and zoom out on the story there, shout out to Coinledger, today's sponsor. As you all know, they're sponsoring CCV, especially this tax season, everybody, as we're preparing for this next speculative bull run. Getting your crypto taxes in line right now, so important. I was messing around with numbers earlier, trying to see where I am, where I was for 2023, what 2024 could look like, what gains could look like, trying to plan a plan. And that's a video, that's for another video, exit plans, exit strategies, all that good stuff. But real briefly in this video, I wanted to show you something, kind of an illustration. This is our demo account back in Coinledger. If I scroll over here, you can kind of get a sense of what's going on there. You see capital gains, short-term, long-term. It shows you the total. If you look at the negative 151 right there, I mean, we're looking at maybe potentially some tax loss harvesting going on there in this demo account, right? But it breaks down every transaction and tells you why, tells you how. But just going back, if we go back to the previous screen and here, let me go to transactions, go to tax reports. Let's go into staking, right? $82, but I just want you to visualize this for a moment. If you're if you're staking, right? For instance, this first transaction, there's ADA stake rewards, right? Price acquired at 38 cents. The market value, considering it was 0.21 ADA, was 8 cents. Forget for a moment the amount, but consider that one single reward, staking reward. And then look at the next one, Solana. There's ADA, there's Solana, a bunch of them. And then just scroll. Look at all these. Imagine for a moment just doing this yourself, figuring this out yourself. Or take a couple wallet addresses, paste them over here in the Coinledger account under wallet, whether it's MetaMask, Cardano wallet, and boom, it imports it all and breaks it all down, just like we saw in the tax report, and you have your tax report. It's ready to go. That's Coinledger. That's staking. Think about exchanges, exchange transactions, the hundreds, if not thousands of transactions that you might have to track. Imagine having to track that yourself, as opposed to just clicking some buttons in here and it's done, it's compiled, and you're doing things properly and you really know where your situation is. I can't tell you enough. When you start zooming out on these charts and you start trying to consider, man, what is next in terms of my play in crypto? What's an exit plan look like? What it take profits look like? Understanding taxes, it's critical. It's critical. So sign up with the link below. Use a CCV link, the CCV code. Get a discount with my code and just get set up, everybody. If you want to go to the website, click their testimonials page. A ton of testimonials. Just read what people are saying. So thanks, Coinledger, for sponsoring today's video. Let's pivot to ADA. What I want to talk about with ADA is this. Okay, there's this thing in terms of Cardano and all altcoins and even Bitcoin. Every cycle, there will be a little bit less volatility. We've seen it with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin gets diminishing returns every cycle, less and less returns every cycle. Ethereum, same thing. Cardano, next in line, right? So in terms of gains for something like Cardano versus Ethereum this cycle, Cardano's probably likely going to see a lot more gains. But newer coins will likely see more gains than Cardano. What I wanted to point out in terms of the Cardano chart is this. I think this is very helpful for a couple of reasons. If we look at the move, and this move, by the way, let me go to the daily chart. This move right now that we've been comparing, the technical move for ADA, you just see the swing high and then we're consolidating right now. So similar to what happened here. Swing high, consolidating. But just look at the setups really, just starting to look so familiar. So I wanted to point something out. As we're sitting here, we're waiting for certain indicators to go off. We're waiting for ADA to see if we can break back above this previous swing high that we saw around 65 cents. I wanted to point out the fact that if you just look at, let's for a moment, and this will illustrate the point perfectly. Let's for a moment visualize that the move is the same, right? So the swing high now is the same as the swing high back here, and we're in a very similar consolidation. Notice when the consolidation happened last time, it was 55% to the downside. That's a perfect example of the type of volatility that we'd see in a consolidation move like that. But fast forward a full cycle, and we're in a very similar technical move. And right now we've consolidated to the downside. This puts into perfect perspective the volatility of it all. 33%, 34% to the downside. Do you see that? So 55% volatility to the downside in last cycle, and check out how ADA has matured. And volatility has slowed down just a little, still 34%. But now apply this to the next bull cycle. From the moment of consolidation, right before the bull doors were broken on Bitcoin, and even we can say Cardano, from that moment of consolidation back here to the swing high, we're looking at, around 4,000%. Are we going to see from the swing low that we just had 4,000% gains? I will say right off the bat, I don't think so. Not this cycle. I don't think ADA is about to see 4,000% gains. Let me show you what that would look like. 4,000% gains for ADA from that previous swing low, if we repeated the move we did last time, would be an $18 ADA. I don't think I've ever said this cycle we would see an $18 ADA. I talk a lot about the possibility of a $10 ADA. That's a $350 billion market cap. That is a market cap of less than what Ethereum hit last cycle. I think this is entirely realistic for ADA. I still haven't done a price prediction video, but I think it's realistic. And we're looking at $10 ADA. That's okay. Compared to last cycle, it's 2,100%. So 4,000% or so, 3,900, 4,000% last cycle, 2,100% this cycle. I think even if you're new to crypto, maybe you don't even like ADA, but you're happening to watch this video. This is a very important thing to understand. The diminishing returns. You can't just take cycle after cycle and be like, man, boom, we saw 4,000 last cycle, we're going to see 4,000 this cycle, and then 4,000. It's diminishing every cycle. So 2,000% returns for something like ADA, very much in play right now. And that's from this previous swing low, right? If you take it from the bear market low, total would be over 4,000% gains. So ton of opportunity in ADA there has been, obviously. But that's ADA on the weekly. And the one thing I wanted to point out is, and this is kind of just in general in terms of the analysis that we've been doing, comparing these two moves, right, is the MACD. I wanted to point out the MACD. Check out how the MACD on ADA, just this powerful move to the upside, right? MACD line, the signal line just trending up right below it, all before halving, right? So this is another indicator that says, you know what? It's very similar to that move post-halving last time, because look, finally the MACD made its way above the zero line, the histogram just looking real nice. And if we just look at, once again, the move, this is what it looks like. Check it out on the chart. Boom, right? So on that MACD, if I can open up just a little, boom, powerfully above zero on the histogram. And then there's that moment of consolidation. You see this red on the MACD, that histogram right there? It's kind of where we are right now. It's kind of like, what kind of red, what kind of sideways consolidation are we going to get right now? And that's what I'm watching for right now. I'm very curious to see, was that the swing low of this consolidation? Or is ADA going to continue sideways, consolidating down maybe even a little bit more, needing, once again, to hit the 20-week, maybe in between the 50 and the 20? Very similar to what it did back here, just sideways and up, right? But some red weekly candles in there. Is that what's setting up for ADA right now? Just consolidating, hobbling around. And will that just kind of make itself known on this MACD, right? So similar looking, just cooling down that we had last time starting to happen now. You can already see the histogram starting to trend down. So if this continues, there's obviously the next move would be, if this histogram continues, the next move would be a red histogram momentarily. That could be the consolidation that we're preparing for ADA. I'm not always just going to sit here, everybody. And I feel like most of the time I'm just talking about caution and preparing for downside, because that's where my head is always at. I'm always cautiously optimistic, obviously. I know what I think is in store for this bull run. But when looking at historical data and being like, you know what, we're already ahead of the game. We're already ahead of the game with this move. I don't want to get ahead of myself and be like, we're ready for takeoff right now. $1 before halving. Because even back then, this was some sideways trading as Bitcoin was trying to break those doors. We could be involved in some sideways trading right now for ADA. I'd like to be realistic about that. So those are just some thoughts I had in terms of ADA zoomed out. I think it's some good perspective. I like to just pace myself when watching these markets, as much as I just want ADA to do something ridiculous. I want crypto to go parabolic now. I have to remind myself, you know what? This move happening is earlier than it happened last time. Happened last time post-halving. Right now it's before halving. There's room for consolidation anyway, even if we were post-halving. So pace myself. That's where my head's at right now. Let me know your thoughts, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate all of you. If you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.